If you have your Bibles this morning, would you turn with me to Luke's Gospel, Gospel according to Luke, the 24th chapter, and the 13th verse. And we'll read all the way down to verse 35. It's a fairly longish passage. I remember when I was in Bible college, there was a preacher who came and he said, I have a poem that I want to read to you, and I want you all to concentrate. He said, just bow your heads, close your eyes, and listen to what I'm saying. And it was a longish poem, and after about a minute into it, I heard a gentle snore from somebody sitting next to me. And that day I said, I will not invite anybody to bow their heads too long a time. So it's a long passage, and I know your heads will be bowed reading it, but stay with me, all right? The road to Emmaus, verse 13, and behold, two of them were going that very day to a village named Emmaus, which was about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they were talking with each other about all these things which had taken place. And while they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself approached and began traveling with them. But their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. And he said to them, what are those words that you are exchanging with one another as you're walking? And they stood still, looking sad. And one of them, named Cleopas, answered and said to him, are you the only one visiting Jerusalem and unaware of the things which have happened here in these days? And he said to them, what things? And they said to him, the things about Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word in the sight of God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to the sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Indeed, besides all this, it is the third day since these things happened. But also, some women among us amazed us when they were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just exactly as the women had also said. But him they did not see. And Jesus said to them, O foolish men and slow of heart, to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary for the Christ to suffer these things and to enter into his glory? Then, beginning with Moses and with all the prophets, he explained to them the things concerning himself in all the scriptures. And they approached the village where they were going, and he acted as though he were going further. But they urged him, saying, stay with us, for it is getting evening, and the day is now nearly over. So he went in to stay with them. When he had reclined at the table with them, he took the bread and blessed it, and breaking it, he began giving it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their midst. They said to one another, were not our hearts burning within us while he was speaking to us on the road, while he was explaining the scriptures to us? And they got up that very hour and returned to Jerusalem, and found gathered together the 11 and those who were with them, saying, the Lord has really risen and has appeared to Simon. They began to relate their experiences on the road and how he was recognized by them in the breaking of the bread. Shall we pray together? Our Father, would you take these words about your Son, and through your Spirit, Lord, engage our hearts and our minds, that we may not only glean truths from it, from what happened that day, but also find promises and things that we can stand on and engage with that will help us in our day today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. The road to Emmaus, 7 miles long. And it was a road that on this particular morning must have just been kind of touched with moments of despondency, disappointment, disillusionment, as these two disciples walked away from Jerusalem, walking away from all that had seemed sure, all that had seemed good, all that had seemed stable as they had followed Jesus. And yet suddenly all their dreams had crashed. Everything came to the ground because the one that they had hoped, as it says in verse 21, we were hoping that it was He who was going to redeem Israel. That was their dream. And it came crashing down with Jesus being crucified, an empty tomb that said that He was not there. People were saying He saw them, but none of this fit their categories. And so here they were, walking away from all that had happened, finding another place to be. And then the Bible tells us that as they are talking about all these events, Jesus joins them along that journey and asks them what they're talking about. And they look at Him with amazement and said, "Are you the only one in Jerusalem who doesn't know what has happened? I mean, the city has been just agog with everything, with all that had happened right from Palm Sunday to the crucifixion of Jesus. And you're saying you don't know, you're asking us?" And so He says, "What happened?" And I love that about Jesus. He must have had such a gleam in his eye and a chuckle when He asked that question. And so they tell Him. Can you imagine telling Jesus all that happened to Jesus? And they go on, and finally Jesus says to them, a little harshly, I think, He says, "O foolish men, and slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Did you not know that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer these things and to enter into glory?" Didn't you know it? It's all there. But you are looking for a different kind of Messiah. And then He goes on and gives them a Bible study. Don't you wish you were in that Bible study? Having Jesus open the Word and explain it. How wonderful, what a moment both of them had. And He explained to them everything that happened from Moses. Everything pertaining to Him, He spoke about. And when He had finished, He appeared as if to go on, and they said, "Please come and eat with us." And He did. And then in the breaking of that meal, in the having of that meal, they suddenly recognized who He was. And the moment they did, He disappeared. But they came back to Jerusalem. Suddenly, there was a eagerness not to leave the place that had all that had happened, but to go back to that place. And they came back saying, "Did our hearts burn within us while He was talking?" And they went back with joy, the Bible tells us. Well, we can look at this whole narrative and look at what Cleopas and the other unnamed disciple went through. But it would be of no help to us unless we begin to ask ourselves the question, so what? So what? What's it for me? How does it engage me? My situation, my circumstances. And so I want us to just delve in a little deeper into this passage and ask some questions. What does it mean when your dreams are all crushed? When your castles crumble? What does it mean when you're filled with terror? You don't know the way ahead. How do you navigate? And they give us a classic example of that, isn't it? Because they're moving away. They're moving away from that place where they found no answers. They're going to another place. And often, beloved, when we go through difficult situations, when we come to places where we have no answers, when it seems like the rug has been pulled out from under our feet, one of the things we do is to retreat to the familiar. Retreat to those places that we know we can navigate without thinking. You remember Peter did that, isn't it? After he denied Jesus. Jesus still hadn't dealt with that issue. And one day he just announced that I'm going fishing. I'm done. I want to go back to that thing that I used to do and I can do with rote. I don't have to think. And very often when disillusionment sets in our lives, we can't see the way forward. We retreat into places of familiarity, which may not be good places to be. Because we're moving away from the present into the past. They moved away from Emmaus, from Jerusalem, going towards Emmaus. The second thing that happens is that we begin to rerun the tape of what has happened in our lives. Over and over and over it goes. We rerun everything that happened. That's what they were doing, talking of everything that had happened in Jerusalem. And sometimes it's only sense to send you deeper into despondency, isn't it? It does no good just continuing to talk about the same thing without any meaning. Thirdly, they were surprised that Jesus didn't know anything about it. They were surprised that what they were going through, Jesus didn't know. And very often we too can get into that position where we get to be irritated with people who come and say, so how are things going with you? And we say, don't you know what I'm going through? I mean, for crying out loud, you should know. I'm your friend, or I'm your brother or sister, and you ask me what's going on. And there's a sense of irritation that creeps in. Are you the only one in Jerusalem who doesn't know what happened? And if those are things that accompany disillusionment and disappointment, we see that the moment Jesus enters the equation, it changes, isn't it? The moment Jesus enters their sphere, everything begins to change. Because the first thing that he does is he explains and he clarifies. That's what he did for them. They didn't understand. They had a set idea of what the Messiah would do, who he would be. And then they had facts. And the idea that they had were not backed up by facts. So instead of looking at the facts and saying, what do we glean from this? They tried to put what they thought needed to happen into those facts. It didn't fit. And then Jesus took the trumpet and said, let me show you. And all the way through scriptures, he would have had the Old Testament. He showed them places that talked about the suffering servant, what kind of a Messiah he would be. He brought clarity to the situation. The second thing that happened was that this pall of gloom was lifted, isn't it? As the psalmist says in Psalm 30, you have turned my mourning into dancing for me. You have taken off my sackcloth and clothed me with joy, that my soul may sing praises to you. When Jesus brings clarity to our situations, then this gloom, this sadness that weighs so heavily upon us because we don't understand, begins to lift. And we're able to see and think more clearly. I don't know how many of you remember Ron Canali brought up the earlier worship videos, and one of the most famous songs that he brought out and sang was this one, You Turn My Mourning into Dancing. So beautiful, but so true, isn't it? When Jesus comes, when we bring God into the equation, then he changes, okay, the way we navigate those situations. The third, he sends us back into the situation. He sends us back. God doesn't want us to run away from our situations and circumstances. He wants us to face them. Because he says to us, I will be with you. Consistently, he says in the book, the battle belongs to me. Just wait and see what God can do in your situation. So he doesn't want us to run away from situations. He wants us to be in that situation and experience what he can do in us and through us to that situation, which is what he did with the disciples at Emmaus. He changed their understanding to the point that they retraced their steps back to Jerusalem. So, for me, the question is, where are you this morning? Where are you this morning? What's going on in your life? We're so good at dressing up and then putting on our masks and coming to church, isn't it? We have the churchy faces that we bring. How are you doing Good. Everything all right? Absolutely. And most of the time, nobody is expecting you to really unravel what's going on in your life, isn't it? But we come with a lot of brokenness. We come with a lot of hurt. We come with a lot of apprehension, disillusionment. Just things that we may not be able to deal with. And sometimes we don't get the opportunity to deal with it. But I believe that today is a day that God would have us deal with those things. Maybe this morning you're confused. You need clarity, uncertain, devastated. Any number of things could be going on in your life that I don't know about, but God does. I was in my office. First, just leave that out. When I met a brother who came in, and not from here, but just shared that he had just lost his brother this past week, and he's in this country, unable to go back immediately, and his mother is not well, has been sent to the hospital because she couldn't handle this and not knowing what to do. And he said, I just thought I'd come and talk to you. And we just sat there and I prayed with him. 2 weeks or 3 weeks back, on Good Friday, at Asbury Theological Seminary, 3 students decided to go down to see some caves that were there. A boy and 2 girls. They were driving down, and the road down to those caves was a winding road. And as he drove, at one curve he lost control and swerved onto the other side of the road. And a truck was coming on the other side, a head-on collision. And he died. The driver died on the spot. 2 girls were in critical condition. And I was thinking, what do you do? As parents, when you hear news that a loved one is gone, what do you do? How do you handle? How do you navigate through those moments? Or maybe you lost a job and you're unable to find another job. You're well qualified. You're doing everything that you can, but it's not happening. And it's easy to go down, isn't it? It's a slippery slope. Or maybe this morning you're just weighed down with illness, something that just won't go away. And it's taken away your joy and your peace, and you're just worn out. You tried going to doctors and nothing is happening. Or maybe, beloved, there's a relationship that has gone south. You've tried everything, you put in the hard work and it's not working. So I don't know what's going on in each of your lives. And maybe that beyond the facade, there's deep hurt, there's disillusionment, there's uncertainty, you're not sure of why you're here, purpose, focus, all of that has gone. But the good news, beloved, as we look at this passage of Scripture, is that the antidote to that sense that you're in is to bring God into the equation and allow His Word to minister to you. That's what Jesus did. He brought the Word into the situation, and it brought clarity and focus and renewed joy to them. And I wonder whether this morning, whether you would allow the Word of God to just penetrate those defenses maybe that you set up, that doesn't allow anybody in, but whether His Spirit can minister to you this morning. And so, I just want to read scriptures over you in closing. Scriptures that I pray will minister to you. Maybe this morning you're just overwhelmed. Things are just beyond your control. And you feel like you're sinking. But the Bible says this, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burnt, neither shall the flame kindle. When you walk through the waters, it will not overwhelm you. When you go through fire, it will not singe you. It's the word of God. Or maybe this morning there's a sadness that has lingered a long time because of you. You've lost a loved one. And the psalmist would say to you, even though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you need fear no evil. For he is with you, and his rod and his staff will comfort you. Maybe this morning you just need wisdom. You're at crossroads, you don't know what to do, and it's taking away your joy. But the word of God says, and the Lord shall guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and make fat your bones, and you shall be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters fail not. The Lord shall guide you continually. Or maybe this morning, there's just heavy responsibility that's sitting on your shoulders, and you're not sure if you're capable of carrying it. And His word would say to you, cast all your cares upon Him, for He cares for you. Cast your cares upon Him, for He cares for you. And then, for I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Only if you've been in a situation where you've experienced a crushing of your spirit can you resonate with those words, isn't it? Because the crushing of one's spirit takes everything out of you. You don't have the wherewithal to take the next moment. The Bible says, the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes with the morning. Give your burdens to the Lord, and He will take care of you. He will not permit the godly to slip and fall. And then finally, have you not heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God. And those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. Beloved, when we allow God into our situations, then He brings His life-giving word to us that can help us navigate, transform, endure all of the situations and circumstances that faces. And I wonder today whether that's something that you need to do. That's an engagement that you need to have with Him. You say, Lord, I tried on my own for so long, and I'm just down in the dumps, completely disillusioned. Lord, would you bring your word to bear in my life? I want restoration. I want renewed hope. I want focus. I want vision. I want to know why I'm here on earth. And Lord, you also restore unto me the joy of my salvation. As a child, as a son, as a daughter of the Most High God, that's our heritage. So I invite you as we bow our heads this morning. If God has been speaking to you, and He's ruffled the waters of your heart and said, you're going through stuff that you haven't yet given to me, that you haven't invited me into that situation. Would you do it this morning? Would you say, Lord, would you bring to bear your word, your presence? And would you help me in this situation that I am in life? Lord, just like the hymn says, just as I am without one plea, I come. I come to you and I ask, Lord, that you would turn my mourning into dancing. That you would bring clarity to my life. That you would take away this disappointment, disillusionment, uncertainty, apprehension, fear, replace it with quiet confidence that you are with me and you will never leave me or forsake me. Lord, bring truth into my life and Lord, remove the lies that I have believed for so long. And Lord, give to each one, Master, what we need to help us to navigate the road that we are on and to navigate it with harmony, with peace, with equilibrium, and with great joy. In Jesus' precious